This is the paradox of modern anxiety. The more you try to fight it, the stronger it gets. Most people treat anxiety like a monster to be slain, but current 2026 psychological standards suggest it is actually a clumsy alarm system that just needs recalibration. We are not going to talk about thinking positive or generic wellness tips. Instead, we are looking at the specific biological mechanisms that switch off the fight or flight response, the dangerous red flags that make anxiety worse over time, and the exact protocols used by clinicians to retrain a hyperactive nervous system. To stop anxiety, you have to understand the machinery running it. Your brain has two commanders. The prefrontal cortex is the logical CEO responsible for planning and reasoning, while the amygdala is the security guard scanning for danger. When the amygdala spots a threat, whether real or imagined, it slams a big red panic button that floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol before the CEO even knows what is happening. This is why you cannot just talk yourself down from a panic attack. The logic center has literally been taken offline. The strategies we cover next work because they bypass the thinking brain entirely and speak directly to the nervous system in a language it understands. Physiology. Stanford neurobiology research has identified the physiological sigh as the single fastest way to reduce autonomic arousal in real time. It is not just deep breathing, but a specific pattern of a double inhale through the nose, followed by a long, extended exhale through the mouth. The first inhale fills the lungs, while the second, shorter inhale pops open the tiny alveoli air sacs that tend to collapse when you are stressed. That long exhale then offloads carbon dioxide. Doing this just 3 times triggers the reflex, a feedback loop that physically forces your heart rate to slow down. It is a mechanical brake for your nervous system that works within 30 seconds. The sigh acts as a brake, but this technique is an emergency stop called the mammalian dive reflex. When cold water hits the area around your eyes and nose, it stimulates the trigeminal nerve and sends an immediate signal to the vagus nerve to drop your heart rate to preserve oxygen. This is evolutionary hardwiring left over from our aquatic ancestors. You do not need to go swimming to use it. Just splash ice-cold water, specifically between 4 and 12 degrees Celsius, on your face, or hold a bag of frozen peas against your cheekbones while holding your breath for 15 to 30 seconds. The physiological reaction is instantaneous and involuntary. You cannot remain in a state of high panic when this reflex kicks in. Anxiety pulls you into your head, but grounding pulls you back into the room. The 5-4-3-2-1 method effectively forces the prefrontal cortex back online by demanding attention to detail. You acknowledge 5 things you see, like the grain of wood on a table or a crack in the ceiling. Then identify 4 things you can physically feel, like the texture of your shirt or the floor beneath your feet, followed by 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. By the time you finish, your brain has shifted resources from generating catastrophe scenarios to processing sensory data. It disrupts the loop of ruminative thought. The most dangerous trap in anxiety management is avoidance. When you feel anxious about a party and decide to stay home, you feel an immediate wave of relief. That relief is addictive. Psychologists call this negative reinforcement. You have just taught your amygdala that the party was indeed dangerous and that your escape saved you. The next time, the anxiety will be stronger and your world will get smaller. Every time you avoid a trigger, you confirm the threat. The only way to retrain the alarm system is to go to the party, feel the anxiety, and stay there until your brain realizes nothing bad is happening. Safety behaviors are the sneaky cousins of avoidance. You go to the event, but you keep your escape route open. Maybe you always carry a water bottle, just in case you choke. Constantly check your phone to look busy, or only go if a specific safe person is with you. These crutches help you get through the door, but they prevent you from learning that you are capable on your own. You survive the situation and think you only made it because you had your water. To truly reduce anxiety long-term, you must systematically drop the crutches and prove to yourself that you can handle the discomfort unaided. The anxious brain is an excellent storyteller, but it only writes tragedies. This is called catastrophizing, which involves jumping to the worst possible conclusion. A headache becomes a tumor, and a missed call becomes an accident. The strategy here is not to tell yourself it will be fine, because your brain will not believe you. Instead, play the probability game. Acknowledge that a bad outcome is possible, but ask what is probable. It is possible the plane crashes, but statistics say you are safer there than in your car. Force your brain to look at the evidence rather than just the fear. We used to think anxiety was all in the head, but 2025 research into the gut-brain axis has confirmed that much of it starts in the stomach. Your gut produces about 95% of your body's serotonin. When your microbiome is inflamed by processed sugars or alcohol, it sends stress signals up the vagus nerve to the brain. Recent studies highlight the impact of fermented foods like kimchi, kefir, and sauerkraut. Including just a small serving of these daily can lower inflammation markers and reduce subjective anxiety levels. You are physically building a more resilient nervous system through your diet. Anxiety ruins sleep, and poor sleep generates anxiety. It is a brutal cycle driven by adenosine and cortisol. When you are sleep-deprived, the connection between your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex weakens, meaning the security guard stops listening to the CEO. A 2024 study showed that even one night of sleep loss can increase anxiety levels by up to 30% the next day. The protocol is to view sleep not as rest, but as emotional first aid. Keep the room cool, block all light, and if you cannot sleep after 20 minutes, get up. Lying in bed awake trains your brain to associate the bed with worry. Quick wins, like breathing and cold water, buy you time, but they do not cure the underlying fear. The gold standard for that remains exposure therapy. This involves creating a fear ladder. If you are afraid of elevators, you do not start by riding one to the top floor. You start by looking at a picture of an elevator. Then you stand near one, before eventually stepping in and out. You wait at each stage until your anxiety drops by half. This process, called habituation, physically rewires the neural pathways in your brain. It teaches the amygdala that the alarm was false. It is uncomfortable and difficult, but it works better than almost anything else. Anxiety is not a character flaw. It is a biological state, and biological states can be changed. Whether you are using a physiological sigh to stop a panic attack in the supermarket or committing to the slow and steady work of exposure therapy, the goal is the same: to show your brain that you are safe. You do not eliminate anxiety by avoiding the things that scare you. You eliminate it by proving to yourself repeatedly that you can face them and survive.